On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla and EV podcast, Tesla Europe revealed the new Model Y performance, and it's packing a few surprises that make it even better than anticipated. Plus, Tesla's been making news all around the world this week, from FSD Supervised rolling out in its first new region, to Cybertruck launching in a new territory, to the possible return of the Model S and Model X to Europe, and much more. What's happening, friends? I'm Ryan McCaffrey, joining you as I do every single week for Ride the Lightning, the Tesla and EV podcast. This is episode 526, publishing on August 31st, 2025. Well, it is another super fun, super jam-packed week of Tesla and EV news. But I wanted to start right off the top here by following up on something that I had mentioned briefly during the Ride the Lightning hotline segment last week, and it was about there possibly being a slight extension of sorts to the $7,500 federal EV tax credit. Well, our Tesla tipster friend Sawyer Merritt dug into it and found some answers, but I will say we still, at least as of this recording, don't have total clarity on this. So here's what Sawyer wrote. There's been some confusion about the $7,500 federal EV tax credit in the US being quote-unquote extended. It's not. The credit still ends on September 30th. But on August 21st, the IRS clarified that EV buyers have some new flexibility. 1. If you sign a binding purchase contract plus make a payment, even a small down payment or trade-in, before September 30th, you lock in eligibility. The car doesn't have to be delivered by September 30th. You can take delivery later. The credit is only applied when the car is placed in service, i.e. when you take delivery, but eligibility is tied to the contract date, which again must be by September 30th. The dealer will provide a time of sale report then. So basically, you can still take advantage of the EV tax credit after September 30th, but you need to sign a binding purchase agreement for the car and make a payment, again, small down payment or trade-in, before September 30th. The car doesn't have to be delivered by then. You can still get the credit even if it arrives weeks or months later. This is especially useful for buyers ordering a vehicle that isn't immediately available, such as one being built like a custom factory order or shipped from another state. So thank you, Sawyer, for that. And the big question for me, and probably for you as well, that you're sitting there asking as you hear this is, does Tesla's $250 non-refundable order fee count as signing a binding purchase contract and or making a payment? Now, it would seem like that's a no to the former, a binding purchase contract, but a yes to the latter, making a payment. So my advice, unfortunately, I don't have a concrete answer for you as of now, but my advice, if you're looking to buy a Tesla or any EV, to try and get delivery by September 30th would be to physically go into a store and speak with not just a sales associate. I'm sure plenty of them are super knowledgeable, but I would try to speak with a sales manager who might have a little bit more information there. And maybe by next week's episode, episode 527, we'll have a little bit more clarity on this. Next up, as we get warmed up in another busy week of Tesla and EV news, congratulations to the Giga Berlin team as they posted on X this week to announce the completion of their 100,000th new Model Y. Now, given that they started producing them back in, I believe, February, with deliveries starting in March, that means they've hit that 100,000 mark in about 6 months. Now, that would obviously go out to a 200,000 per year pace, but when you factor in the production ramp-up time on the new Model Y, which, yes, it was quick compared to a totally new vehicle program like the Cybertruck, but it does still take time for them to ramp up on the new version. Well, okay, then that works out to roughly, and you probably guessed it, about 250,000 cars per year, aka 5,000 cars a week, which is exactly what Giga Berlin has been doing for these past few years that it's been open. It's 250,000 Model Ys a year. So kudos to Tesla for already hitting that 100,000 Model Y milestone. And remember, too, that sometime late last year, I think it was, Giga Berlin announced plans to expand their production capability there past 250,000 vehicles per year. So if Giga Berlin ends up building the Model Y L there for Europe, as well as the Model Y B, and yes, I know I've gone from calling it the Model 2.5 to the Model Y Mini, now that all those have all been debunked because it's neither of those things, I'm going to call it the Model Y B for basic, as just a shorthand here, rather than say strip down Model Y every single time. So if they're building, again, Model Y L as well as Model Y B, plus the new performance Model Y, that'll mean 5 total variants, and hopefully then a decent bit more than 250,000 units per year out of that factory. Like, hopefully at least 300,000, maybe we'll see in the next year or two. Now, speaking of Giga Berlin and the Model Y, let's get to this week's headline story, the thing that you already knew was coming based on the title of this week's episode. The new Model Y performance has been announced for Europe, and only Europe as of this recording on Friday evening. The announcement came via Tesla Europe's X account, and they had teased it a couple of days prior with a little message. The caption was, "Spoiler alert," and the image was a super close-up of part of the Model Y performance that didn't really show you anything. It was so indistinguishable and generic, for lack of a better word, that you had no idea what you were looking at. But I had actually commented in response to their post. I figured, well, spoiler alert, meaning a vehicle with a spoiler, meant that they were either going to be launching the Model Y L for Europe or the Model Y Performance, and in fact, it has proven to be, for now, the Model Y Performance. And as of this moment, those of you in Europe can now order what is, as of now, the quickest Model Y ever made. So let's go through everything, because there is a lot to chew on here, plenty to get to. First, I'll start with price and performance. So I took a look at a couple different European Tesla websites, a couple different currencies, one in miles, one in metric. So I just wanted to kind of get a sense of it because obviously we don't know what any of these figures are going to be for the US market as of yet. But in the UK, it's £62,000. For context, the long-range all-wheel drive is £52,000, so a £10,000 difference there. And if we're looking at euros, I went to the German Tesla design studio, it is 62,000 euros compared to 53,000 euros for the long-range all-wheel drive. So a 10K spread in the UK, 9K spread in Germany, or in basically any European market that's using euros. Therefore, it is reasonably likely to be $58,000 in the US or $59,000. Probably could be $60,000, but I think basically $58,000 to $60,000 is going to be the range that we're looking at for the US market, because the long-range all-wheel drive here is $49,000. And given that the Model 3 performance is $55,000, $58,000, $59,000, maybe $60,000 seems about right. Also, kind of on a related note, if the Model Y L does come to the US, I have to revise my previous prediction. I had said 55K. That was, sadly, I think I was too low on that. I would now revise my prediction to about the same, roughly $60,000, give or take a couple thousand. So that's, we'll see. Bookmark this. Hopefully we will get the Model Y L here and get it soon. And we can find out if I was right or wrong. Back to the Model Y performance, though. As for its performance, it does 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds, or 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, which is 62 miles per hour, in 3.5. So 0 to 60, 3.3 seconds. That is a 0.2 second improvement over the Generation 1 Model Y performance's 0 to 60 time of 3.5 seconds. And again, that's probably what we would have guessed, right? Because it's got the same drivetrain as the new Model 3 Performance, and that car from Gen 1 to Gen 2 went from 3.1 seconds, 0 to 60, to 2.9 seconds in the car that I'm very grateful and privileged to have in my garage now. Oh, and by the way, on the German design studio, if you're curious about when the Model Y Performance will begin deliveries, it shows availability in Germany as September, which that means that's almost certainly going to be the first deliveries sometime, which of course that could be in a matter of days from now, or it could be in 3.5 weeks from now. We don't quite know just yet what exactly September means. We'll find out soon enough, as people are, by the time you hear this, plenty of people will have ordered it in Europe, and maybe some of them will start to get delivery windows, or if they're already coming off the production line, maybe the first folks will actually have delivery dates in their Tesla apps. But I figured Germany was the one to look at there because obviously Giga Berlin's in Germany, so it wouldn't have to ship too far. Germans are probably going to be the first customers to get their hands on the new Model Y Performance. Now, let's talk about the rest of the features and changes on this new performance variant. Tesla said on X, it's designed to deliver performance that's just as good on your daily drive as it is on the open road. And they have a bunch of different sections here. So under the vehicle exterior upgrades for even better performance section, they note that there is a new front and rear fascia and carbon spoiler for better aerodynamics. Now, certainly one of the downsides of this being an audio-only podcast, probably the only downside, is that I can't show you things visually when I want to, and I certainly wish I could just put a picture of the new Model Y Performance in front of you, but just Google image search it. Just type in probably new Model Y Performance. We'll most likely pull it up instantaneously, and you will see the revised front fascia. So it adds a more aggressive splitter down low, and it puts a glossy black insert near the headlights and air inlets in that little spot on either side of the front fascia. And I think it looks very good. I really like the look of it. It definitely does add some aggression to the front end of the new Model Y. The rear fascia, it's basically just a rear diffuser, which is the same as on my Model 3 Performance. The diffuser's different. Now, I will say I don't super care for the new rear diffuser. I don't dislike it, but I don't think it necessarily adds a lot to the look of the car. I reserve the right to change my opinion on that after I see it in person. Whereas and I acknowledge my bias as well as a Model 3 Performance owner, but I think the different rear diffuser on the Model 3 Performance is really good looking, and it actually adds a lot of athleticism, for lack of a better word, to the look of the car in the rear. But there is a new one on the back of the Model Y Performance as well. Take a look at it, see what you think. Now, the next section, optimized wheels and tires for precision control. Well, here is where Tesla, I mean, again, I like the design, particularly up front, but the wheels is really where Tesla nailed it with this car for me. I said on the podcast, I did not personally care for any of the new wheel options that we saw recently on the revised Model S and Model X. Just none of them did anything for me. Whereas the outgoing wheel options on S and X, what had been there on particularly the new S, the arachnid wheels, I loved. Just absolutely loved those. And I liked both of the old, new Model X wheels as well, both the 20 and the 22s. But the new wheels, all the new wheels on S and X just aren't doing it for me. But on the new Model Y Performance, boy, does it do it for me. I like the warp wheels on my Model 3 Performance, and I like them even better now that I've removed the aero inserts. But I love the wheels on the new Model Y Performance. So they're called Arachnid 2.0, and they, in fact, look almost exactly like the arachnids that the Model S just lost in that slight refresh from a couple months ago. They're still a gunmetal gray, dark gray color, and they now have the 2.0 portion, comes from the fact that they now have some aero inserts near the outside of the wheel, which again are almost certainly removable, and I think they'll probably look, subjectively, they'll look even better without them. Now on my car, I'll say, I am not really noticing any efficiency. There obviously is some efficiency difference since I took out the aero inserts, but it seems pretty minimal. I'm not really noticing a big penalty, and I'll be curious if that proves to be the case for the Arachnid 2.0s on the Model Y Performance as well, if removing the inserts really will end up not costing you too much range. But they look absolutely phenomenal. The Arachnid from the S, now there have been, this is actually, they should call this the Arachnid 3.0, because the original Arachnid wheel was on the Generation 1 Model S. In fact, my cousin Pat had them on his car, and they looked great then. And then the new versions of them that were on the new Model S up until 2 months ago, I thought just looked fantastic. And these new ones on the Model Y Performance just look great. I mean, the Arachnid for me, any version of it, any of the three versions of it that we've had, are probably, if not my favorite wheel design Tesla's ever done, it's right near the top. I think when I actually did the wheel rankings of all the wheel designs Tesla's ever done, I did a lightning round episode about it on Patreon some months ago. After, I guess I should probably do it again, because we've now had several new wheel designs come in since I last did that lightning round. But I think, spoiler alert, I think I had named the original Model S and X turbines as my favorite wheel ever. Maybe a little bit of nostalgia coming into play there, but I always thought those wheels looked great, and I think they still look great. But man, I know I'm going on here, so I'll move along. But the new Arachnids, what is technically called the Arachnid 2.0s, even though Franz, they should be the Arachnid 3.0s, they look awesome on the new Model Y Performance. Performance carbon spoiler equals greater downforce and reduced drag. Yes, we, of course, fully expected that. It appears on the design studio and in the photos to possibly be the exact same spoiler that's on the Model 3 Performance, which would not be a surprise because the 3 and Y Performance versions shared the carbon fiber lip spoiler in the first generation as well. A consistently smooth and stable ride. Tesla notes adaptive damping adjusts handling based on road conditions. This, of course, it's going to be the same suspension probably that's on my car. New drive modes provide more freedom for high-speed driving, and a staggered wheel and tire fitment provide better grip and steering. Now, on that specifically, the first-gen Model Y Performance had staggered 21-inch wheels as well, and so does this one. So what that means is you will not be rotating them. However, I will say that I never once saw complaints, not to say that they don't exist, but I really never saw any groundswell of complaints about tire life being too short, too low on the Generation 1 Model Y Performance. So presumably it'll be okay here too, even though you're not going to be rotating these tires. The next item on Tesla's list was higher range. More range thanks to new high-density battery cells with increased charge capacity. Okay, now we are cooking. Here we have the biggest and most awesome, in my opinion, of the surprises on the Model Y Performance. I'm going to try to break this down as best I can without droning on for too long, because I know I do have a bad habit of doing that. But we don't have an EPA range rating yet to do an apples-to-apples comparison to the Model Ys and Model 3s here in the US in terms of range. Since, of course, this car's not yet been announced for the US market. But if you go on Tesla's website, go into the Model Y Design Studio, and switch your region in the upper right corner to the UK, you will see that it does, or really any of the other territories, but I'm using the UK specifically just because it's English language. You will see that it does show ranges in miles there, though it is still rated in the, shall we say, more generous WLTP range measurement, or range estimate, I should say. And so with all that in mind, it shows 360 miles of WLTP estimated range on the Model Y Performance. It will not actually get that, and the EPA range will not be 360 miles when it gets here. We don't know exactly how that's going to transfer. However, what we can do right now, and what I've done, is look at the Model Y long-range all-wheel drive, so the dual-motor non-performance, on that very same UK website with that very same WLTP range estimate. And it shows 364 miles of range, but on the 19-inch wheels, meaning we can reasonably presume that the Model Y Performance suffers basically no range penalty compared to the non-performance all-wheel drive version on account of these new improved battery cells, even when we're comparing the 21-inch staggered wheels to the all-wheel drive's smaller square setup 19-inch wheels. And in the US, the Model Y all-wheel drive is rated at 327 miles on the 19-inch wheels. And remember, the EPA toughened up their testing recently to try and make it a little bit more of an accurate estimate. So 327 on the 19s for the Model Y all-wheel drive means that I think an EPA rating for the new Model Y Performance when it gets here of around 320 miles is probably that's where I would put my bet. And 320 miles for the performance version on the larger wheels and tires would be incredibly impressive. Again, basically no range penalty for a lot more horsepower and bigger wheels and tires. That is awesome. Now, it's these new battery cells, of course, that make the new Model Y Performance significantly better than A, expected, and B, better than my car, better than the Model 3 Performance, at least in terms of range. Certainly, my car still outperforms it, but the new Model Y Performance is really, really impressive. 'Cause I'll tell you, if my car had these same battery cells, this same battery pack, it would probably get closer to 340 miles instead of the 300 that it actually gets. And that would just be incredibly appealing. Like that's a massive material difference to, I mean, again, I went in eyes wide open. I knew I was buying the lowest range, the shortest range Model 3, but I was doing that because I was trading that for performance. Well, guess what? Because of these new battery cells, there's no longer a trade-off. You are getting the range and the performance and the bigger, more awesome-looking wheels on the Model Y Performance. And as a result, I think these new cells with this higher density chemistry, I think Tesla's going to sell more performance models just on account of this, because again, there's basically no range penalty now. Particularly, I think that the performance will be more appealing to more people, particularly when you hear about the other upgrades that this thing has. And I'll get to those in a moment. But to wrap up on the battery piece here, it is some seriously impressive improvement on the battery technology side overnight. Obviously, they've been developing these cells for a while, but for them to just materialize unexpectedly in the Model Y Performance is awesome. I mean, the math is that these are roughly 13 to 14% better range, or more efficient, or more, however you want to phrase it, but 13 to 14% improvement or so over the previous battery cell that's in the other versions of the Model Y. So, again, that's my own estimate. Don't take my word as gospel there. And I'm sure at some point Tesla will fully explain it to us, fully debrief, and just explain exactly what these new cells are doing and what they're capable of. But I think 13 to 14% is a reasonable approximation. All right, let's keep going with the rest of the notable items in the new MYP. They list comfort upgrades, quiet cabin thanks to premium sound damping materials and acoustic glass. Yep, nothing new there. Heated and ventilated sport seats in the front row. So yes, they have almost the same seats as are in the Model 3 Performance. Hang on just a second. Because they have added not just the added bolstering and the side cushions, which my car has, but powered thigh cushion extenders for extra comfort, Tesla says. So those come straight out of the Model Y L, as I was just talking about last week. So we already knew that the L had, in the first row, it had the performance seats, just without the little insane mode logo in the neckline area. But it turns out that it's kind of goes both ways. The L, yes, the L had the performance seat, but the performance has the L seat with the powered thigh cushion extenders that the Model 3 Performance currently does not have, giving the new Model Y Performance a literal leg up. Sorry, dad joke. on the Model 3 Performance. I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. Moving to the second row, perforated and heated seats in the back with power recline. So again, really actually no change there, because they say, notice perforated but not ventilated. So still no ventilated seats for the second row bench in the Model Y Performance. You have to buy the Model Y L and its second row captain's chairs to get ventilation in the second row seats. Next, Tesla says, our highest resolution 16-inch center touchscreen equals more pixels and more fun. So again, this will sound familiar from last week with the Model Y L. This is the same slightly larger screen that the Model Y L is getting. And of note, it is listed in the comparison chart on Tesla's website as being a QHD display, whereas the displays in the other Model Ys are not listed that way. So this is an improved display and not just slightly larger. So again, we have another tangible advantage over the Model 3 Performance. And why do I keep bringing up the Model 3 Performance? It's because The two cars share a platform. They are siblings. The first generation performance versions of 3 and Y were very close to each other in every way. They shared a drivetrain, shared a battery pack, shared the spoiler, pretty much everything. So I just do think it is a valid comparison here. And I'll get to another reason why in a couple minutes. But yes, another point in favor of the new Model Y performance. And in fact, that wraps up all of the facts and features about the new MYP. So I've got a couple thoughts, and I'll start here with what I think the coolest things on this vehicle are. Number one, it's those higher energy density battery cells, because that was completely unexpected in the high volume vehicle. That's something you expect that they're going to bring to Cybertruck or SNX, or when it comes around, the Roadster. And I'm not saying that those cars won't get battery cell upgrades, but for this to debut in one of the trims of the highest volume car is a little bit surprising to me. Now, they can still be, these cells will still be somewhat low volume because the performance version of the Y is the version of it that, at least historically, has sold the least, because it's the most expensive, and the plurality at least of crossover SUV buyers are not looking to pay more for additional performance. So Tesla's not going to need enough of these new higher energy density cells for 1.2 million cars. They're only going to need it for maybe 10% of that. That would be it's just a guesstimate on my part of how many Model Y performances, or at least what ratio the sales pie looks like on Model Y. I would guess that it's about 1 in 10 Model Ys sold are the performance version. So we'll see if those same battery cells, as they ramp up production on those and bring the cost down, if those cells will come to the rest of the Model Y trims and potentially the Model 3 trims as well. The second coolest thing, I made a list of 4 things. So number 1's definitely those higher energy density battery cells. Item number 2 of the coolest things on the new Model Y performance are the wheels. I already went on and on about those. They're just gorgeous. I know that's subjective, but the Arachnid 2.0s get 2.0 very big thumbs up from me. Number 3 on my list, the thigh cushion extenders. I'm not a super tall guy. I'm pretty average height, so I'm not sure if those would really materially make my ride more comfortable, but good on Tesla for putting them in. Wasn't expecting that in the performance version. That is awesome to see. And then number 4, the last thing on my list, is the slightly larger, nicer screen, the touchscreen there. So that is awesome to see as well. And just all told, I am extremely, extremely impressed by this car. And if I were buying a Model Y, I would 1,000% go with this version. I would not even entertain the other versions of the Model Y. It looks better. It's got the sweet wheels, and you're really not paying a range penalty for the additional performance. So you're paying more, certainly, obviously, but yeah, I would be buying this in a heartbeat if I was in the market for a Model Y. But I am over the moon happy with my new Model 3 performance. Certainly no regrets there, even after seeing what the new Model Y performance is all about. And then I just had a couple more thoughts here. This first one, I admit, is a little bit of a negative thought, and I try to be optimistic here, but I couldn't help but kind of shake my head at the fact, it's a fact, that the plaid Model X that you are paying a fortune for has 0 design differences inside or out compared to its non-plaid long-range counterpart. Nothing, it is an identical vehicle on the inside and the outside. The only way you can tell that you have a Model X plaid is the plaid badge on the rear and the larger red brake calipers. That's it. For all the money that you're paying, while on the other hand, the new Model Y Performance gets plenty of goodies on both the inside and the outside. The new front fascia, the new rear fascia. Of course, there is the performance badge back there as well. The sick new Arachnid 2.0 wheels, the bigger red brake calipers. Then on the inside, the new seats and the new center screen. So you're getting... People will be able to tell very clearly from any angle that you've got the Model Y Performance, which is one thing I love about my new Model 3 Performance. It's the same thing. It is clearly the performance version from any angle that you look at it, which wasn't the case for the Generation 1 Model 3 Performance, or for that matter, Model Y Performance. On a happier note, my final thought on the new Model Y Performance is this. Since the 3 and the Y do still share a platform, now they've both been given more of their own individual identities. They don't look exactly, they're not identical they're not identical twins anymore. They're simply fraternal twins, I guess, would be the way to put it. I do think it is fair to wonder if some of these upgrades, namely the higher energy density battery cells and those thigh cushion extenders, but heck, why not also the screen, the 16-inch QHD screen, are going to come to the Model 3 Performance fairly soon. I don't think it's guaranteed that it happens, because the Y kind of drives the bus now at the company. I mean, it has for a while. I mean, it didn't when the first Model 3 Performance came out, when I got mine in 2018, because there was no Model Y yet. But the Y is in the driver's seat here as far as the company goes. So there's no guarantee that these upgrades will also find their way into the Model 3 Performance, but I do think it's more likely than not. And perhaps, if and when those upgrades come to the Model 3 Performance, that'll be at the same time as the Model 3, all of them get the front bumper camera. And really as well, I would say this, even though I'm not going to celebrate this, but if these upgrades came to the Model 3 Performance, it would probably allow Tesla to raise the price on the Model 3 Performance above $55,000, which again, I am definitely not rooting for that to happen, but I think it would be fair game, since Tesla would be increasing the range of the Model 3 Performance by, again, about 14% over my car, since they wouldn't have to, and the reason that they could, they can justify it with the range increase, and they wouldn't really have to worry about it impacting sales, because they no longer, as of October 1st, Tesla no longer has to worry about keeping the Model 3 Performance priced under the tax credit MSRP limit. So they can go to $57,000 if they want to on the Model 3 Performance, and they could say, well, we're giving you 14% extra range on it, and this and this and this. So we'll see. Just keep an eye on that. I'm not rooting for it to happen. We'll see if it does, but if these features find their way into the new Model 3 Performance at some point, sooner rather than later, don't be surprised if it does come with a slight price increase. All right, with our big main topic, super exciting topic, by the way, out of the way for this week, I wanted to pause right here to mention a very timely thing. This is your last chance for the 11th annual Tesla Raffle from Chesed Chicago. It is in its literal final hours as this podcast publishes. You've all helped awesomely raise a lot of money for this great cause the past couple of years. I've mentioned this a little bit over the past couple months, But right now, for real, is your last chance to do so again for a great cause this year. And hopefully one of you out there will win the EV of your dreams in the process. The raffle ends on Labor Day. So that's Monday, September 1st, 4 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. That is the cutoff. And you can watch the drawing of the winner live on Instagram if you go to their handle there, Chesed Chicago. That's CHESED CHICAGO at 8 p.m. Central Time. And I really, really hope that one of my listeners wins. Just as a reminder, if you win, you can choose from a wide range of EVs, Tesla or anybody else if you want to. In fact, hey, maybe even the new Model Y Performance if it comes out here in the US by the time that the Chesed folks contact you and ask you to redeem your prize. Or if none of that sounds as good as $50,000 in cash, you have that option as well, $50K in cash. And whether you buy one ticket or 100, it's a win-win. You get a shot at an amazing prize, and your ticket helps Chesed Chicago support families in crisis through over 80 life-saving programs, from food and furniture to job placement and more. So go to ccraffle.com actually right now. Just pause and go there right now before the raffle ends and use the promo code RTL to get $25 off of 2 tickets, or if you want to go big, $500 off of 15 tickets. That's ccraffle.com, promo code RTL, your last chance to win big, give bigger, pardon me. I had it right. Why did I stop? And maybe become the next winner of an awesome EV. Thank you all so much for entering this to help out such a great cause. Next up this week, I want to remind you that Test Bros, my friends at Test Bros are out there. They are all about helping their customers customize, protect, and maintain their ride. And they do that by listening to the community and creating products that solve pain points. Some examples over the years have been Chrome Delete kits and door button stickers. Those of you fellow 2018 Model 3 owners out there will laugh at that one because you will remember, you can look at your own car, unless you already have their door button sticker, and see that the door open button was literally a horizontal line. So anybody that got in your car that wasn't already in the Tesla world was like, what does this button do? And yeah, so the door button stickers, the Test Bros folks came up with those, and Tesla themselves has since added them to the cars as standard. That's how effective of a solution the door button sticker from Test Bros was. Same thing with the Chrome Delete kits. They ended up deleting the Chrome on all the cars, just as Test Bros had already done. Now these days, Test Bros is selling really great do-it-yourself wrap kits designed in-house by the company itself, which is, by the way, founded and staffed by Tesla owners, giving you an affordable way to customize your Tesla. Everything is made in the USA and shipped from their Chattanooga, Tennessee warehouse, and their kits include everything you need for installation: pre-cut film, squeegees, prep solutions, microfibers, wrap gloves, heat gun, and more. They offer in-house support if you need it, and step-by-step video courses. To see everything they've got, go to testbros.com and use the code POD15 for 15% off of your first order. That's TESBROS.com, and use code POD15 at checkout. And lastly, of course, we can't forget about my friends at Accelerate Auto. They continue to offer, as they have for the past 10 years, their awesome EV extended warranty plan. I have one on our 2018 Model 3. It has come in handy. It's super peace of mind to have it. I love it. I do genuinely, as a customer, recommend this if you plan on keeping your electric car past the manufacturer's warranty period. And yes, Tesla just started offering their own extended warranty, but with xCare, you decide on the terms. So if you want to do just like 2 more years, 25,000 more miles, yeah, you can grab that policy and do that. You want to do 5 more years and 60,000 miles, go for it. You want 10 extra years and 125,000 extra miles? You can do that too, or anywhere in between. They also offer high voltage battery and drive unit coverage. If you just want to cover those ultra critical, and if you had to replace them super expensive pieces, you can just get a policy for that as well. So check them out, and because you're a Ride the Lightning listener, you get $100 off when you select XCare's one-time payment option. Just use the discount code LIGHTNING. Go to xcare.com. That's XCARE.com. Let's continue with more good Tesla news this week. The Tesla Robotaxi service in Austin continues to make rapid progress. This past week, the official Robotaxi account on X posted, quote, increased service area from 91 square miles to 173 square miles, also increased the number of cars available by 50%, end quote. Well, that, again, it is really rapid and very encouraging progress. Just fantastic to hear about. Sadly, I still have yet to be invited to use it here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I promise I'm not trying to come on here and beg for access. I guess what that tells me is they're being pretty slow and deliberate and keeping the San Francisco pool of people pretty small, at least here in the early going. And I know my time will come on that, but I am eager to get an experience in the Robotaxi at some point, hopefully in the next maybe month. I don't know. We'll just have to see how it goes. In the meantime, though, I have to wonder if between the rapid expansion in Austin, the fact that they're already on the ground in the San Francisco Bay Area, is Tesla getting ready? Like, are we going to get the next region, the next city, sooner rather than later? I mean, the Phoenix area seems like maybe it was next on deck. I mean, having lived there for a long time in the Phoenix area, and I can say this with love to my Phoenicians, my Arizonans out there, I would think that the roads of the greater Phoenix metro area should be child's play for the Robotaxi, because there just aren't a lot of weird edge cases and corner cases. It is, by and large, a bunch of flat, wide roads arranged in a grid shape, a grid pattern. So we shall see. I, in fact, decided to see what you guys thought on this one. I wanted to get your opinion on where you thought the Robotaxi will land next. So I made it the subject of this week's Patreon poll. Thank you very much to the more than 250 of you that stopped by patreon.com/Tesla podcast this week and cast your vote. A friendly reminder, you do not have to be supporting me. You don't have to be giving me a dime on Patreon to vote in each week's Patreon poll. It is open to the public. It is open to anyone and everyone. So swing on by. The new polls typically go up on Tuesday evenings. And this week's question was, which city do you think Robotaxi will be available in next? And sure enough, a lot of you out there thinking right along the same lines as me. Phoenix won this poll pretty considerably. 41% of the vote went to Phoenix. In second place, Las Vegas, 24%. That's a pretty solid choice as well for a number of reasons. Well, two primary reasons. One would be the weather. I guess three reasons. Two would be, again, mostly the same grid-like setup. And three, as commenter and listener Steve Hurst noted in the comments here, he says the tourist pipeline there would be the best advertisement for the Robotaxi. Now, of course, not any tourist would be able to jump in to a Robotaxi, but if you just see them running around, that with Robotaxi written on the side, that's very much advertisement. So Steve is right on the money with that one. So thanks to everybody that kindly took the time to vote in this week's Patreon poll. And again, there'll be a new poll up this week, so stop on by and cast your vote. And speaking of my Patreon page at patreon.com/Tesla podcast, for those of you who are very kindly and generously supporting the podcast, supporting me with what I do here every single week, This week's lightning round bonus mini episode, which I do every single week on Patreon, was about my quote-unquote easy fixes for Tesla's vehicle roadmap problem. I've been talking on recent episodes about Tesla's hard pivot to autonomy and robotics, seemingly at the expense of new vehicles in new segments. So I had some thoughts about how Tesla could relatively easily fix that. And so I had fun recording this one. I hope you'll enjoy listening to it. If you'd like to hear it and are not already backing me on Patreon at the lightning round tier, which is the $10 per month tier, that's the most popular tier, you can find more information and join it. Sign up at patreon.com/Tesla podcast. A reminder that all the Patreon tiers get an ad-free episode, and you get it early on time. As soon as I'm done recording it, editing it, and uploading it, which is, again, typically Friday evenings, everybody on Patreon has immediate access to an ad-free version of that episode. The support tiers start at just $5 a month. And again, if you step up to that $10 per month tier, you will get all of those lightning round mini episodes. There are over 150 of them in there for you now. So if you enjoy the podcast each week and you'd consider supporting me, I would be very humbled and grateful for that. Head on over to patreon.com/Tesla podcast. Still plenty more Tesla news to talk about this week, including good news for the Cybertruck. Raj Yaganathan from the Tesla AI team, Raj, if I've mispronounced that, which I probably did, I sincerely apologize. I've done my best there. He's from the Tesla AI team. He responded to a post on X from a frustrated Cybertruck owner, and Raj responded it was about FSD, and he said, quote, "Version 14 includes improvements for Cybertruck on FSD." So this is going to be great news for Cybertruck owners out there whose vehicles don't have any processing power reason to be behind the sexy fleet like the AI3 cars do. Instead, it is the unique architecture of the Cybertruck, the drive-by-wire, the rear-wheel steering, and of course the sheer size of the Cybertruck probably factors in as well. And that makes it a bit of a unique challenge, no doubt, for the Tesla AI team to get FSD fully dialed in there. And there just hasn't been a lot of activity in terms of software updates. Granted, none of us have been getting software updates as the robotaxi push has completely consumed the Tesla AI team, and understandably so, but we've at least got version 14, as alluded to here. We've got version 14 coming up hopefully in the next month or so, but as I talked about at the time, in the last week or two when Elon talked about it, if it doesn't arrive in September, we'll be patient and we'll not be super surprised if the team ends up needing more time. But the point here is version 14 is going to make some improvements specifically for the Cybertruck. Now, the original poster that Raj was replying to there was a Cybertruck owner from Grand Rapids, Michigan, who goes by the username The Cybertruck Guy on X. And he aired a list of what I think are probably legitimate grievances, and that's why Raj responded. And the Cybertruck Guy said, FSD a year late, no autopilot, no B-pillar Sentry camera, no windshield and tire protection. Now, B-pillar Sentry is imminent. Windshield and tire protection rolled out this week, at least. And he added, Beast owners without the light bar, no actual smart summon, the range extender canceled, no power share for Powerwall. And that was kind of his list of grievances. And on top of that, as I said, the FSD build that the Cybertruck owners have had for a while now, one of its core issues and common issues is what must be a very frustrating tendency for the software to hug the far left edge of the lane, as in, and when I say hug, I've seen videos of this. I'm talking about tires on the line. kind of hugging here. And apparently another issue that's fairly common is that the Cybertruck on FSD occasionally wants to make left turns into oncoming traffic when it shouldn't be doing that. So the Cybertruck definitely deserves some love here from the Tesla AI team, which it is getting, and hopefully Cybertruck will, I mean, we know that those updates are coming, but hopefully Cybertruck gets version 14 at the same time the rest of the sexy V4 fleet does, or if it doesn't, I sure hope it is a fast follow and it's not something that they have to wait months for. Speaking of the Cybertruck, another quick news bite on that, it's launching in Korea. The official Tesla Korea account posted the following, and this is a Grok translation of the original language of the post. Bold future luxury lands in Korea. Opening a new horizon of innovation and style, the Tesla Cybertruck is finally launching in Korea. Dear customers who have reserved the Cybertruck, please log into your Tesla account within the period below, it's basically within the next week from now, to confirm your order. We wish you the start of your bold journey. So that makes 2 more regions now for Cybertruck outside of North America, the Middle East, and now Korea. Now, admittedly, these are not large markets, so I don't suspect that they will pour a huge extra pile of numbers to the production and delivery tally at the end of the quarter, either this quarter or next. But certainly every little bit helps, and surely Australia and New Zealand must be next because they are dying for the Cybertruck down there. But speaking of Australia, they are getting something this week. They got it, and that is FSD Supervised has launched in Australia. Yes, love to see this. Tesla had teased a big announcement at the beginning of the week for Australia, which eagle-eyed Australian listener Andrew Zara had given me the heads up on. And Andrew, in his email to me, had said that he hoped it was going to be the fact that he hoped it was going to be FSD Supervised launching in Australia, since, as I've talked about on the recent podcasts, it had already been teased on X by the Tesla AI team. And I wrote back to Andrew and I said, well, I thought it's either you're correct or it might be the Model Y L launching in Australia, since Australia gets their cars built from Giga Shanghai. I'm sure the Model Y L would have been a welcome thing to Australia, and hopefully they'll still get it. Hopefully all of us outside of China will still get it. But it was indeed full self-driving supervised launching in Australia, making it the first right-hand drive territory to get full self-driving supervised. And I just want to say a true and genuine congratulations to my Australian listeners. I seriously can't wait to hear what all of you think of it, because everybody in Australia with a Tesla hasn't been iterating version by version by version, which we have had the privilege and pleasure of doing here in the US. The Australian folks are jumping straight from basic autopilot up now to FSD version 13. So I can't wait to hear what all of you think of it. If you want to call in and give your brief, just try to keep it to 90 seconds or less, brief impressions, I'd love to hear from you. I'll give you the phone call information coming up when we get to the Ride the Lightning hotline here in a bit. But big congrats to all of my Australian listeners. This is definitely a big week for Tesla in Australia. And in additional fun news, there's a new interview with the executive chef at the Tesla diner, who gave a peek not only into how wildly successful Tesla's first culinary effort has been so far, but also a sneak peek at what's about to be added to the menu. This came from Observer.com, but a tip of the cap to my aforementioned friend Sawyer Merritt, I saw this linked on his feed. And I'm not going to read you the entire story. I encourage you to go read the whole thing because it is a good piece. But here are some relevant parts from Observer.com, who writes, after opening the Tesla Diner in West Hollywood on July 21st, Chef Eric Greenspan spent numerous days essentially living at the restaurant. Quote, I was working 20 hours a day for the first 2 weeks, Greenspan tells Observer during his first interview about the most buzzed about restaurant in Los Angeles. Things have since stabilized at the diner. It's still extremely busy on weekends, but the hype has died down a bit, and Greenspan estimates that guest counts are down 15 to 20% from the peak of 2,000 people per day in the beginning. Plus, Greenspan has improved ticket times by honing in on his most popular dishes, cutting items that were slowing down the kitchen, and not serving his breakfast menu all day. Today, the Tesla Diner is unveiling a new menu that grew out of Greenspan's after-hours R&D sessions. Quote, thematically, we want to be an ode to the roadside diner in a new modern way, says Greenspan, who is operating the Tesla Diner alongside restaurateur Bill Shate. Quote, but Tesla is a brand about sustainable abundance, and we definitely have a mandate in many ways to have plant-based options, end quote. So he came up with a country-fried portobello mushroom, which is glazed in tamari for extra umami and roasted in an oven before it's dredged and fried. It's topped with a plant-based gravy. Quote, it eats like white gravy, Greenspan says. It's got the nutmeg, it's got the black pepper, it's got a bunch of caramelized onions that we pureed smooth. We finish it with a little bit of oat milk, end quote. The mushroom is served with arugula and pickles on a plant-based brioche bun. The $13 sandwich is, quote, an ode to chicken fried steak, per Greenspan. Another new dish is a revision of a salad that Greenspan is now serving with a vegan green goddess dressing instead of the previous dill ranch. Greenspan is getting farmers market greens for the $9 kale and arugula salad, which also features cherry tomatoes, red onions that are pickled in-house, and gluten-free breadcrumbs. Guests have the option of adding tuna, fried chicken, or a burger patty to the salad. He's working on new options, like a ceremonial matcha shake with pandan, or pandan. I'm not actually sure how that's pronounced. Guests will also be able to get an all-day pick-me-up in the form of a mocha milkshake or an espresso milkshake. What Greenspan is calling the ludicrous shake for $13 will be half matcha and half strawberry with a whipped coconut topping. There will also be pie shakes, starting with a vanilla-based one with chunks of apple pie from Los Angeles bakery Winston's Pies. And that's, again, you can go read the rest of the story on Observer.com if you're interested. And I do encourage you to do so, because there are a lot of other interesting quotes and other bits and pieces in there. I have had the apple pie, by the way, both times that I've visited. And like I said, I thought it was fine the first time, but the second time it was better. I thought it had upped itself to very good. But there you go. I mean, I know that I've already done 2 lightning rounds on the Tesla Diner after each of my visits, and certainly my thoughts on the food and how much I enjoyed it on those lightning rounds. So I'll just add this, and I'll say I am thrilled that they are adding more plant-based options. Not just for my vegan friends, but selfishly, as someone who is lactose intolerant and is only occasionally able to indulge in dairy using lactate tablets. Like, for instance, when I went to the Tesla Diner, the Tesla burger, I got the cheese on there, which was delicious, and the grilled cheese that I got on my most recent visit. So thrilled to see some plant-based options up there. And clearly they're putting a lot of effort into those plant-based. It's not they didn't just throw some, simple thing. I mean, that portobello mushroom, ode to the fried chicken sandwich sounds really involved. So sounds like that'll be worth trying for those folks who are either vegan by dairy restriction or by dietary preference. Now, I do want to, on the note of plant-based, I would like to challenge Chef Greenspan very politely and respectfully to do a plant-based milkshake. Because part of the story is he talks about how he thinks that he wants the Tesla diner to be the best spot in the world for milkshakes. So Chef Greenspan, let's get some non-dairy, let's get some vegan shakes going on in there. I mean, I'll say that I'm no chef, but I know that there are tasty plant-based protein powders that I make kind of a protein drink with every day after I work out. I use almond milk and the vanilla vegan protein. I forget the brand name, and it tastes really good. Like, I genuinely enjoy drinking it. So surely a high-end professional like Chef Greenspan can pull off something super tasty in the milkshake department that's also vegan. But anyway, again, since this was the Tesla Diner's executive chef's first interview since the place opened, I thought I would read you a selection of that piece there, because I just think it's really interesting to hear from him now that it's open and the crowds have been crazy. And I thought it would also be worth sharing those new items coming to the menu as well. And for myself, I'll just say I absolutely cannot wait to go back a third time. In fact, maybe it's good that it's in LA and it's not in my town, because I might be going there like every week, and I don't know, that having a Tesla burger every week might not be the most healthy course of action for me, because I'm not sure I'd be able to resist staying away from that place if it were only a short drive away. And the last story that I have for you this week, in, again, another super busy week of Tesla news, regulatory filings hint at a return of the Model S and Model X to Europe. I saw this one on Drive Tesla Canada, who wrote, back in mid-July, Tesla abruptly stopped taking new orders for the Model S and Model X in Europe, leaving customers with the only option to purchase these vehicles from existing inventory. The disappearance of the two vehicles from the online configurator led to speculation that the automaker might phase out its premium lineup in the region altogether. However, regulatory documents show that the vehicles may return once more. Both the Model S Long Range and Model S Plaid variants have been updated with European type approval revisions, as shared by ex-user Julian. The changes include range improvements, a softer suspension setup, and the addition of a front bumper camera, matching the changes we saw in North America with the recent refresh. The latest type approval lists no updates for Tesla's larger SUV, the Model X. This suggests that Tesla hasn't yet filed the appropriate paperwork with authorities, or that Europe may have to wait longer for a refreshed version of the new Model X. The lack of revisions could mean Tesla's prioritizing the sedan for re-entry while evaluating the future of the electric SUV in the region. Well, hopefully then, the stoppage of S and X custom orders in Europe was simply Tesla wanting to clear out all of the pre-refresh 2025 model year inventory before committing to any new 2026 model year orders for the European region. I mean, you all know how I feel about S and X. Those cars are too darn good to limit them to the North American market. So I'd be curious to hear from any of my listeners who are S and X owners of any vintage, whether last year, 10 years ago, any S and X owner in Europe. I'm genuinely wondering if, when you drive your car, are you something of a celebrity when you take your car out? And I'm being serious because there just aren't a lot of S's and X's overall, but there must be especially few in Europe relative to the US and to North America. So do you get a lot of attention in an S and X in Europe? Like, I would have to think you did, because there just can't be too many of them in Europe, particularly in some European countries versus others. Like, maybe Switzerland's got more, maybe, some countries versus others. Maybe Norway would be another one where I would imagine that there are more than certain other European countries. But anyway, I will keep an eye on this, and hopefully this is a harbinger of new S and new X orders that will be coming soon via deliveries. There will be new deliveries to Europe. All right, that is everything in another extremely busy week of Tesla news. But stick with me. I will be right back with your phone calls in the Ride the Lightning hotline coming up next.
Hi, this is Franz von Holzhausen, and you're listening to Ride the Lightning with Ryan McCaffrey, the Tesla unofficial podcast.
It's time to hear from all of you in the Ride the Lightning hotline. It's your chance to call in and potentially be featured on an upcoming episode. There are 2 easy ways to call in if you've got a question, comment, or discussion topic for the podcast. Either use your smartphone's built-in voice recording software, record your question, please try to keep it to 90 seconds or less so that I can get to as many callers each week as possible, and then email that file to me at my podcast email address, which is teslapodcast@gmail.com. Or you can take that same 90-second or less question and just call in and leave a message anytime, day or night, on the Ride the Lightning hotline. The toll-free number to call is 1-888-989-8752. That number again, 1-888-989-TSLA. And by the way, if you know someone special with an upcoming birthday, anniversary, graduation, or some other special occasion, you can give them a unique gift of recorded voices from friends and family telling them why they're special. The recordings can be podcasted or put onto a nice keepsake. Visit lifeonrecord.com to learn more. We kick off with Stephen responding to the pro tip from episode 524, so 2 shows ago.
Hey, Ryan, this is Steven. I just listened to episode, 524? And I was listening to the little tip at the end, and I forget his name, Ben from Georgia? I'm not sure. But they mentioned that when they get in their car, the screen turns off, and I don't think that's expected. That sounds like something's wrong there. And my guess is something to do with the occupancy sensor. Maybe it's not detecting that they're in the car, and that's why the screen's turning off, and that's messing up the state of the Bluetooth. So, I don't know. This is something that popped in my mind when I was listening to that episode. Thanks for everything. Bye.
Thank you, Stephen. You are correct, sir. In fact, a number of folks wrote in about this as well as Stephen's call, and I'll be honest, I feel bad for missing it in my response to the pro tip, but that's why you guys have my back. Thank you to the folks who have experienced this and wrote in or called in about it. So, yes, what was described in Jonathan from Georgia's pro tip is most likely, in fact, a faulty sensor in the seat, just like Stephen said. Now, I reached out to Jonathan already, but I wanted to play this for you in case this happens to anybody else out there as well. Thank you again, Stephen, and thank you to the number of other folks who reached out about this. Our next call this week comes from Brian in Pennsylvania, responding to the new Lux package.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate that. The new Lux package sounds kind of nice. I like the idea of it. I do agree. It should be optional. My question, though, comes in with transferring of full self-driving, as the Lux package costs or includes the full self-driving. And at $10,000, if you're buying full self-driving, the extra $2,000, great. However, if memory serves right, last podcast, a week and a half ago, you were talking about in your app, your loyalty rewards, existing Tesla owners are getting credits where they'll be able to transfer their full self-driving. And you seem to feel that was a way that they were kind of bringing full self-driving as a permanent thing, but not necessarily permanent. So my question is, if I had a Model X and I wanted to upgrade to a new one and buy the deluxe package and I have full self-driving, I'm not going to be able to transfer that. I don't think they're going to give me a discount on that. So that seems kind of crappy for those who have full self-driving and Model X's and want to upgrade. They're being forced to pay for it when they could potentially transfer it with their loyalty account. Back to you.
Thank you for wisely pointing this out, Brian, because I'll admit that the thought did not even cross my mind. You are absolutely correct that this does hose anybody who wants to transfer FSD from a Tesla they already own into a new S, X, or Cyberbeast. Unless Tesla is offering some kind of credit, which, well, you inspired me to do something that, quite frankly, I'll admit, I am not perfect. I am human. I do my very best every week on this podcast, but I messed up. I should have done this on last week's podcast. So please accept my apologies for that. I'm going to correct that mistake now. So what I did was I went and looked at the fine print. Should have done that to begin with, but here's exactly what it says. Quote, "The package, including its individual features and services, cannot be transferred to another vehicle. If you sell or otherwise transfer the ownership of your Model S, Model X, or Cybertruck, trim eligibility subject to change," which just means the Cyberbeast for now, "the full self-driving supervised and the remainder of the recommended maintenance, wheel and tire protection plan, and windshield protection plan will transfer automatically to the buyer. Free supercharging and premium connectivity will not transfer with the vehicle and will terminate once ownership of the Model S, Model X, or Cybertruck is transferred," end quote. So meaning, not only is Tesla now forcing S and X buyers, to purchase FSD, unless I'm reading that wrong, they're not allowing them to transfer it to a new car that they purchase. It says, if you sell the car or transfer ownership to someone else, then it'll transfer. But if you are trading in, it does not appear to be transferable to a new Tesla of any kind, whether it's another S, another X, or any of the other vehicles in the fleet. So they're basically, again, if I'm reading this correctly, Tesla is making S and X buyers buy FSD every single time, at least with each new S or X, I guess, or if they go to a 3Y or non-Cyberbeast Cybertruck, they can't move it there either. So this package is brand new, so maybe Tesla will make this right before long. But again, the caveat, if I am interpreting that correctly, it is saying that S and X owners from here forward are not going to be able to transfer FSD to their next Tesla. And if that's the case, that is really unfortunate, in my opinion. So thank you again for the call, Brian. Thank you for raising that issue. And I've just got time for one more call this week. It comes from Robert in Texas, who has a white interior 2022 Model X. He's responding to my call out to the audience about whether or not those white center consoles have gotten grimy, as I was speculating about whether or not it's a good idea for the Model Y L to have a white armrest and door handle with the white interior option. So go ahead, Robert.
Ryan, it's Robert from Texas. You had a question. I do have a Model X 2022 with the white interior. So I do have that white console, that thick white console on the right and white leather on the left. I probably keep my arms on those two things 95% of the time, especially when it's on FSD. My arms are always just on that. Very well placed, very kind of luxurious. I haven't had any issues at all with it looking gross or dirty. Occasionally, after a few months, the left side might need a wipe down, but that's about it. It's very easy cleaning material. I've had no issues. I don't have any dogs or pets, so I don't know if a dog, scratching it or something like that might be an issue, but definitely for normal human wear, it has been zero issue, absolutely zero issue. Hope that's helpful for the new Model Y luxury Model Y L purchasers. They don't really need to worry about that. Thanks. Bye.
By the way, one other quick thing that popped into my head about the previous call from Brian about the Lux package. This is one of those cases where I really wish Tesla had a PR team, because this is exactly the kind of thing that I could reach out to PR about and they could get me an official answer. I could say, hey, does this mean that anyone with a 2026 Lux package S or X is not going to be able to transfer FSD to a new car moving forward? And so I'd be able to get that answer if Tesla had a PR team. But sadly, as we all know, that has not been the case for many years now. Anyway, getting back to Robert from Texas's call, super good news there. Thank you, Robert. And I did hear the exact same feedback from a few other folks who had kindly reached out about this, and it makes me super happy to hear it. I mean, hey, not that I don't trust Franz, but I think it was fair to wonder about, right? On a super high touch point area like the door armrest, and in the case of S and X for the last several years, that center console armrest as well. So I guess then that eases my concern. And if I were buying a Model Y L with white interior, I would feel super good about that now. And as always, Robert, I appreciate your calls. Thank you so much. I appreciate everybody who takes the time to call in. I promise I will get to more of your Ride the Lightning hotline calls on next week's podcast. But for now, the show is running long, so I will call it right here. But if you have a Tesla question, comment, or discussion topic, feel free to call in. I gave you the 2 easy call-in methods a little earlier in the segment, and you can always refer to the episode description as well if you need that information. All right. As for what's going on with me and my car, well, this week it's actually about what's going on with my wife's car, the Spirit of Adventure, our 2018 Model 3 Performance. So I got the 0G wheels refinished this week, and they look, first of all, they look brand new because they effectively are. They look amazing. I'm more thrilled with it than a normal human being should be. Like, I forget who I was telling this to, but it's actually like re-energized my love for that car. Like, I love the new one. I mean, don't get me wrong, the new one's amazing. The Soul of Adventure is incredible, but the curb rash that had been on the Spirit of Adventure on those 0G wheels had just kind of deflated me a little bit anytime I would look at that car. And yes, my wife did curb rash it a couple times as she was getting used to it, which I knew would happen, but so did I. I also added probably as many curb rashes to the 0G wheels as she did. It was an equal opportunity situation, as it turned out. We were both getting used to street parking it. You know, it's been in the garage. I've pulled it in and out of the garage and not had to worry about curbs for 99% of the time. Now, every time it gets parked at home, there's a curb there to concern ourselves with. So anyway, I definitely, financially, it was not the best time to refinish the wheels. I'm still paying off that heat pump that we had to get at the beginning of the year when our 30-year-old furnace died. However, the impetus for the refinishing was because when I had the wheels on the Spirit of Adventure rotated, had the tires rotated recently, when they returned the car to me, the guy told me, hey, this wheel, pointing to the driver's front wheel, driver's side, after they've been rotated, he said, this one's really bent. And I was kind of taken aback. I was like, oh, okay, well, there are definitely potholes around here. I would not pretend to compete with some of you in the Midwest and the East Coast about monster pothole sizes, but we do have them here, and I must have whacked one good enough at some point that it bent the rim. And the good news is, even though the guy said it's really bent, it was holding air just fine, and I didn't detect any obvious like shake or really anything. And there was really nothing perceptible except the full self-driving issue that I've been having, that I've complained about on this podcast in this very segment, where I've talked about how FSD now wanders in the lane in a really annoying way, and sometimes gets like all the way over to the edge of the lane, like next to another car, and I've actually intervened a couple times. And so I thought, well, it's probably not the best idea safety-wise to be driving around with a bent rim. And 2, it maybe will fix my FSD issue, because maybe, again, I'm not an engineer, but if the wheel was bent, maybe just that was throwing off the FSD, like the calculation of reading the wheels spinning. Maybe that was throwing it off enough where it was causing the car to wander in the lane a little bit, like if it thought the wheel was like moving to the left or the right or something. Again, I could be making that, like I could be making something out of nothing there. I don't know. But I thought it's just safety issue to have a bent rim. Maybe it fixes my FSD problem. And the third, the cherry on top would be fixing the curb rash and getting the wheels back to looking brand new again. So I had it done at the same shop that refinished the wheels the first time for me like 3 years ago. And they're not close. They're in Fremont, same town that the Tesla factory here is, the Fremont factory. And so it's about 45 minutes from this shop back to my house in San Francisco. So I knew as soon as I picked the car up, I'm like, well, I'm going to have a long FSD drive here to see if this has improved the situation. And I'm not quite ready to call it yet, because it's even though it was a 45-minute, good long drive, it was only one drive. I'll be driving it more this weekend, but it did seem a lot better. Now, I'm also heeding the advice of a recent caller from one of the last several shows who mentioned alignment. And that reminded me that I'm a year overdue for getting an alignment. You're supposed to have the alignment checked every 2 years. It's been 3. So I made an appointment for now that the wheels are done. And by the way, they were able to successfully fix the bent rim. I should add, I should have mentioned that a little while ago. But I was so thrilled because if it was too far gone, I did look it up in the parts catalog, and I could have and would have had to order a new 0G wheel from Tesla, and they're $750 a piece. So that would have added to the cost of this quite a lot. So I'm super glad that the bent rim was able to be repaired without needing to be replaced. And now I'm just I've got an appointment with Tesla to get the car aligned, and then we'll really, really see how the FSD situation is, if the car is able to stay in the center of the lane. But it did do a lot better. Like, it wasn't perfect, particularly through curves on the freeway. It would still kind of hug the inside of the curve a little bit in a way that AI4 doesn't do in my other car, in the Soul of Adventure. But it was noticeably better. So I actually can't wait to take it out again this weekend and keep driving it and keep testing it to see how the FSD performs and if it's able to just stay straight, stay in the middle of the lane. But that was the big, albeit expensive endeavor this week in my personal Tesla world. And yeah, it hurts the wallet, but it's like I said, there were two good reasons and one bonus reason to get that done. An entertainment recommendation for you this week. I've got one that I'm happy to recommend, and it is the TV show Peacemaker on HBO. Or I guess it's now HBO. It's back to HBO Max again. I really enjoyed the first season. John Cena is fantastic in the show. Now, it's not a family-friendly show. It is a mature audiences only, parental discretion advised kind of thing. But it is... The first episode of season 2 is really good. Don't jump into season 2. If you want to check it out, do start with season 1, but season 2 is off to a good start. So really enjoying Peacemaker on HBO Max. Now for your Tesla pro tip of the week, it comes from Paul in Kansas.
Hey Ryan, got a pro tip about car seats. So kids in the back get no air whenever they get in the car, if they are riding in like the booster seats or child infant car seats. And for many years, I had to manually turn on the air in the back seat in order to keep them from getting too sweaty. Recently learned that if you have seatbelts that are buckled, I think the left or the right, the center may or may not, and the door has been opened, the air will turn on automatically. So if there is kind of an intermediate stop and you kind of stop for a little bit, it may or may not stay on, depending on what it is, but and this might have been fixed in more recent cars with presence detection and all the stuff that they've done with that. But in my 2019, this is still a nuisance. So I want to give a pro tip for people with kids and go for there. All right. Thanks, Ryan.
Super useful tip here, Paul. Thank you very, very much for this. I suspect this will be a big help to a lot of your fellow parents out there. And by the way, if anybody else has a good Tesla or EV pro tip of the week, I would love to hear it so that I can learn from it and I can share it with everybody else listening and we can all learn from it. So send it in the same way that you send in a regular Ride the Lightning hotline call. I gave you the 2 easy call-in instructions for that a little while ago, or again, refer to the episode description. But those pro tips of the week are awesome. Love this part of the podcast. Keep them coming. I want to mention some friends of Ride the Lightning before I get out of here on what has been a very long episode 526. But I would be remiss if I did not mention abstractocean.com and their just absolute pile high to the ceiling worth of aftermarket Tesla and EV accessories. For all the Teslas, for both Rivians, you got to check them out at abstractocean.com. They've got the custom fit tempered glass screen protectors for Teslas and for Rivians. They've got a lot of great lighting kits, either brighter whites or even other colors. If you want to change the color of the accent lighting, the additional cabin lighting in your car, you can do that, and you can do that easily at home with great products from abstractocean.com. They've also got a ton of great Cybertruck protection accessories for the non-stainless pieces, just custom fit XPEL, basically PPF kits that'll help keep those black non-stainless trim pieces looking pristine for many years to come. Again, check them out at abstractocean.com. When you get to checkout with all the cool stuff you like piled into your shopping cart, use the coupon code RTLPodcast at checkout and get yourself 15% off of your first order. That coupon code again, RTLPodcast, all one word, no spaces. The Snap Plate and the newer, stronger Snap Plate Plus, you want to grab that for S3, X, and even the new Y, plus the Generation 1 Model Y as well. But they had to redesign it for the Gen 2 Model Y because of that lower front bumper camera. So they've got that covered. The Snap Plate is a nice, clean, minimal design to get that front license plate on the car without resorting to how Tesla does it. You know, Tesla gives you a front license plate bracket with your car, but it attaches to your car with adhesive, with automotive tape, meaning if you ever want to get it off, good luck doing so without damaging the paint there. So I very much recommend the Snap Plate or the newer, stronger Snap Plate Plus. Get yours at everyamp.com/RTL, or just click the link in the episode description. And there's a discount code for you, no matter what you're buying. That discount code is RTL. So check them out again, everyamp.com/RTL. If you're in or going to be in the greater San Francisco Bay Area, the summer special is winding down at my detailer, Immaculate Reflections. Jeff is the name of the owner and detailer there. He is an incredible human being, also an incredible detailer. I love this guy. We've now known each other for, 8 years now, Jeff, when you hear this. Because it was like, we connected like a year before I got my first Model 3. So, 8 years. And Jeff has taken such, if you'll pardon me, immaculate care of both of my cars. And those of you that have been listening for a long time know that particularly the Spirit of Adventure has seen some stuff. It has had some PPF damaging incidents where I've been so lucky that in every case so far, the PPF has absorbed the damage and left the original factory paint undamaged underneath the film. So I've had just have new film put on and bam, car looks literally brand new again. So whether you want to do paint protection film to protect against the kind of hazards like I've encountered, maybe you want to do ceramic coating so that you don't have to wax the car for the next 5 to 7 years. Maybe you want to do paint correction to get your paint finish looking as good as it possibly can. All of it is subject to the summer special at Immaculate Reflections. Go to their website, irdetailing.com. You can hit the contact form to reach out there. And when you reach out, mention that you're a Ride the Lightning listener. And once you sort out exactly what you'd like to do with your car, make sure to mention that you're a Ride the Lightning listener, and you'll get $200 off of any paint correction service, $500 off of any ceramic coating package, and 15% off of any paint protection film package. So again, check them out, irdetailing.com. Huge thanks to Jeff and Immaculate Reflections for making that very generous sale available to my audience. One more time for my Patreon, I would be extremely grateful if you'd take a look and consider a pledge on Patreon. This podcast is free. It always has been, always will be, but it does continue to survive and thrive based on your support, your listener support. And the website to go to is patreon.com/Tesla podcast. You can click the link in the episode description if that's easier. And again, there are a whole bunch of different support tiers, all with different perks and bonuses. And the higher up you go, the more you're generous enough to pledge, the more perks and bonuses you'll get. I will get to the maximum plaid backers here in a minute, and they get a whole lot of stuff, including their names shouted out at the end of each week's show. But the most popular tier on the Patreon is that $10 per month tier. I call it the ludicrous tier because each of the tiers is named after a Tesla's performance mode. The $10 tier gets you an ad-free episode every week. It gets you early access to that ad-free episode every week. And it gets you the lightning rounds, the entire back catalog of them. It's like 157 of them now, as well as each new one that I do each week. So take a look, check out my Patreon page found at patreon.com/Tesla podcast. I'll just note real quick too, if you'd like to just pledge once for a year rather than have a monthly thing on your credit card, there is an annual pledge option where you can pledge once, support me for a whole year, and as a thank you for doing that, I give you 10% off of that annual pledge. Finally, you can follow this podcast totally free on any of the big podcast services, which I do recommend, because that way you'll get a push notification to your device every time there's a new episode, which it is the same time every week, every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. But just search Ride the Lightning Tesla on any of those big podcast services. Click the follow button and you're good to go. Statistically, most of you are listening through Apple Podcasts, but shout out to my TuneIn friends listening in your Tesla and to the Spotify folks out there as well. And I won't leave out the YouTube podcasts folks as well. Finally, I'm on a couple different social media platforms. I have the same username on both. You can follow me on X and or on Instagram if you would like to do either of those. And my username is DMC_Ryan. You can also email me anytime about any Tesla or EV related thing at teslapodcast@gmail.com. It's time to give the shout out here at the end of the episode to the top tier Patreon backers. Let me start with the top tier, the Roadster in Space tier backers. Not an official Tesla performance mode, I realize, but I think we all can agree the Roadster that's literally in space, it is going faster than any Tesla will ever, including the new Roadster. It is going, I don't know how many thousands of miles per hour. So anyway, that's why I've nicknamed the top tier of the Patreon the Roadster in Space tier. So a big shout out and thank you to Pete White, Lyle Austin, Steve Radspinner, Fernando Cordero, Lawton from Chicago, Sean Neidig, Neil Weaver, Jackson Wallace, Rolf and Jennifer Evers, Howard Anthony Smith, Victoria Iacovetto, Tesla Hitchhiker 42, Carol Weston, Robert from near Philly, American Home Contractors, Doug Carey, Michael Gallo, and Tony Figueroa. Next up, the Maximum Plaid backers. And by the way, for the Maximum Plaid and higher, coming up this next weekend here, which will be the first Saturday of the month, Saturday, September 6th, there will be the monthly Patreon Zoom Hangout. So the Maximum Plaid group and higher gets invited to that every month. They have a standing invitation, while anybody who joins the Patreon or upgrades their pledge gets a one-time thank you invite to join in whatever the next Patreon Zoom Hangout is. So I hope to see Rav at the next Patreon Zoom Hangout, because he is the newest Maximum Plaid backer joining this week. Thank you, Rav. And thank you as well to the rest of the Maximum Plaid crew. They are Jonathan Wales, Cameron Clark, Daniel Grummer, Seth Capello, Nick and Tony, the Galpin family, Ryan from New York City, Darren Nickel, Kaz Barnes, Patrick Wisniewski, Gil Cabrera, Todd Badger, Joe Edgel, Kevin Yank, the Tesla Owners Club of San Joaquin Valley, Will Stedman, Justin Perez, Jeremy Harris, Chris Beach, Tom Mills, Corey O'Donnell, Aaron, John Cody, Joel Sapp, Paul Casarino, Chris Osborne, KB, Adam Lavoie, Jason Chalukas, Travis Krenzel, Bruce Otterstein, Tom Behan, Josh Pennington, John from Cream Ridge, New Jersey, Dustin Hart, Derek Finley, Charles Clement, Damon Klein, Jeff Brown, Jerry Slinger, Kenneth Corbett, Brian Bertoglio, Kim Bay, Troy Sievers, Nick Jacoby, Chip Hooper, Matt Chinander, and Robert Moran. Thank you all so much. And a big thank you goes to the Plaid level supporters. This tier is officially no more on the Patreon, but these very kind and continually generous folks continue to support me at that level, and so they continue to get all the perks and bonuses that they should get. Thank you to George Cassiopo, Logan Willis, Peter Chalet, Eric Randolph, Dory and Steve Guberman, the Tesla Owners Club of Taiwan, Ron Lee, Charlie Gillespie, Jeff Angwin, Chase Cabanillas, the Lydia family, Aaron Altschul, Jared Brown, Jerome Strack, Jamie Dalton, Mike and Barbara from Louisville, Matt Nixon, the Tesla Owners Club of... let me try that one again. Rewind. the Tesla Owners Club of Wisconsin. There we go. Ish, not Elon Musk in quotes, Peter, and the Bear Boys of Colorado, Bear spelled Baer. Thank you so much to everybody that has taken the time to listen. I know this was a long episode. There was a lot to cover. I guess I shouldn't have been surprised that I talked for like half an hour just on the Model Y performance. You guys know I love this stuff. And you know that especially when there's a new version or a new car, like if there's a new vehicle, a new Tesla, I'm gonna dive in head first and I'm gonna swim all the way to the bottom of that pool and just have fun in swimming around in that pool. It's just a good time. That's why I just want this company to keep making cool cars. Let's go. We can have the autonomy and the robotics and still also have cool new cars. But anyway, huge thanks to everybody again for taking the time to listen. I don't want to drag this on anymore. It's been a long one. But thank you all so much for your time, for your attention. And I will say happy electric motoring, and I'll see you back here next week.
Elon Musk, people don't like Elon Musk. The guy founded PayPal and Tesla, and people are like, yeah, but he's a troll and a bad dad. I'm like, so was mine. He did nothing to fight climate change. Also, have you been in a Tesla? Have you been in a Tesla? My buddy let me drive his Tesla. I laughed out loud at how fast it went. Been clinically depressed my entire life, on dozens of medications, in a Tesla for 13 seconds, cured forever.
I mean, I think a Tesla is the most fun thing you could possibly buy ever. That's what it's meant to be. Our goal is to make it's not exactly a car. It's actually a thing to maximize enjoyment. It's maximum fun.